Going to go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in the position to win.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it. It's just a heavy play.
Going to go for two here. For two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's Going for Two, presented by Toboggan Brewing Company. And we're going to jump right in because we had some pretty significant news happening over the past weekend. But there's nothing bigger than this Aaron Rodgers story.
Nothing at all.
We're cutting through it. Yeah, so I mean, is he actually out of Green Bay?
I think at this point, it's crazy
so.
that he hasn't. Yeah, it's for half this buildup. How do you go back? I think at this point, so many question marks, and I don't know if there's going to be an extension there waiting for it any time that he's actually chasing. So I think at this point, he's probably gone, and he's probably going to be able to pick his suitor too.
If they get rid of him now, they can still get something. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
If he doesn't want to be there, you've put nothing around him to make him stay. That's on the organization. But at this point, it's like, if they hold off and I don't think he'd ever play bad. I don't think he can play bad. He's not good of a football player. But you don't want him getting older, so you might as well ship him out now.
Mm-hmm.
Then, you're pretty much coughing up your season and giving it away.
Right. Well, and he's got a competitive spirit. I mean, a guy like that, I don't think that he could stomach playing poorly even if he wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that one of the smartest trade ups of the whole draft was that trade up to get Amari Rodgers, because I think that was kind of like a solve your problem in two ways there. Either one, you're trying to get one of the best wide receivers left on the board to try and appease Aaron Rodgers in some way somehow, and if Aaron's gone, you've got still one of the best wide receivers on the board that can build or grow with your young quarterback at the same time. If you're going to be coming back to Love, then right.
Yeah, I looked at it as more of like a slap in the face to Rodgers. Like, hey, we're not going to wait. We're going to wait until we feel like drafting a receiver. And we're going to – don't get me wrong. We talked to Amari Rodgers. We talked about how we thought – well, Aiden told us that he thought he could have been a first-round pick. And, that's great, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers watches the show. And I'm not sure that Aaron Rodgers knows a lot about Amari Rodgers. I'm sure he knows a little bit. But I don't think that was like – he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We're good now. Now we're back in this.
Mm-hmm.
You took a corner in the first round.
Yeah.
An defensive player again in the first round. In 12 years, the NFL draft, they've taken one offensive player, and it was Jordan Love. So why does Aaron Rodgers owe them anything?
Right.
Exactly. He doesn't.
If he wants to sit down and coach Shepard, he can. So he can leave and as an NFC guy, I hope he leaves. But I don't want to go into San Francisco. I'm kind of glad that didn't go down because that would have fucking sucked. That team is built to win, and that would have put them over the top. But yeah, no, he owes them nothing, and I hope he leaves them. And I think they deserve that.
Yeah. Did you know that of all the quarterbacks from Green Bay, the Bart Starr, the Brett Favre, and now Aaron Rodgers, they've all only made it to their 16th season with Green Bay. No quarterback has ever played more than 16 seasons with Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nostradamus, huh?
This would be Aaron Rodgers' 17th year he'd be going into. And yeah, I don't see it happening. I mean, we could talk about where he might go, like what is a proper trade partner, what's a destination for him, and we will. But Chad and I watched the draft together, and we saw this thing unfolding. We were like, holy shit, Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded on a random Thursday night in April. What an exciting draft.
What an exciting offseason. We went from the Russell Wilson conversation about getting traded, Deshaun, then we've got Aaron Rodgers, who also was up there. We got the Teddy Bridgewater rumors, and then it ended up happening, him getting traded out, and Darnold getting traded. What a crazy offseason for quarterbacks.
The Deshaun thing is, there's still a couple chapters of that book to be written.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
gonna leave that one to itself, I think.
Yeah.
We'll let that boat sail off alone, I think.
Well, the other thing that slides under the radar, and now that the draft is over, The 49ers made the trade up to 3. The Dolphins moved back, and then the Dolphins jumped up again with the Eagles, and it seems like everybody won that trade. Everybody got the player that they needed from that trade. And I don't know the exact compensation that went where. It seems like the Dolphins definitely cleaned up in this trade. But for the Dolphins to be able to get those extra first round picks, and then still they got, it was Waddle, right? They got? Yeah, it was Waddle. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, is Miami like building a dynasty? I mean, they're a quarterback away.
Mm-hmm. And well, did you see
the only thing on
Miami?
Waddle is he's 5'9".
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You got a lot of speed down in Miami, but they're all small, right?
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that division is like teetering though. Like to see New England trade up in a draft a couple of times, I think they traded up in the draft actually, right? They're always the team that trades down and picks up picks and trades compensatory picks and picks up more picks. These guys were giving away picks to get up and get who they needed to or who they wanted at the time. So I think that you can see that division is like really starting. They're starting to see Buffalo as a scary team. Miami is right around the corner, right? So going to be a tough division.
Well, that's the Bill Belichick's ego is going to be shattered if they don't do something this year. His quarterback left him, won a Super Bowl. They didn't make the playoffs. Everybody thought that Bill could win with anybody. That did not happen. They went and spent probably more money this year than they spent in the fucking 20 years Tom Brady played there to get free agents in. And now you trade up to get a quarterback. You're trading back in to get more picks and better value picks. They know. I think Bill Belichick's like, oh shit, I need actually talent here to win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the
what
system
did you think
everything.
about? Yeah. What did you think about the Tom Brady quote? I know it's all in jest, but I'm sure in some way Bill didn't take it, a little bit harsh when he said about the Julian Edelman thing. Let's all know that he didn't actually retire. He just
Julian, and then it wasn't Bill.
Oh, you think so?
Like,
okay.
I think you're just making fun of his buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Like, I just feel like that was for me. If I'm the coach and I see my player leave after 1 year, get a Super Bowl, and then he makes a comment like that, I'm like, fuck, you just had to make one more line. You just had to say my way, didn't you? You know what I mean? So I think it was in jest, but I'm sure that didn't sit well. Yeah.
Because like Julian's already got TV contracts lined up. He's already got movie deals lined up. He's already taking care of himself after football. And I honestly think it was Tom Brady's having fun with Julian Edelman.
I don't think I saw the comment.
So he said
he just came out and said he's like Julian didn't really he retired because he was too scared to tell Bill that he was coming to play with me.
Yeah, he's too scared to go in the office. He said he's too scared to go in the office and tell Bill he wants to go down to Tampa. And he says, "Don't worry, I've been there too."
Yikes! I think that's a double shot.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, he's having some good fun and some good jest there for sure. And what kind of? He also made the other comment too. He's full of what this is the year that they almost had no losses or whatever, and they won in the Super Bowl against the Giants. That he would trade 2 rings for that win. That was a pretty interesting comment. But I think if you have 7, you can make those type of comments, right? I'll give up 2.
Yeah, but having a perfect season, something special, man. Like, they did everything right that year.
That's right.
It was the best statistical year of his whole career. If they
he's good
that year, he could have left with 4 rings and it would have been a different conversation altogether.
Yeah.
If they had that perfect season.
He's fun for sound bites in the offseason now that he's outside of New England, that's for sure.
Well, he's lining himself up for the future too. That guy's going to be on TV 100%.
Yeah. He'll have some angle somehow. He'll be on TV.
He's a nerd. That's the best part about it. Like, he knows he's a massive dork and he plays into it completely.
Wow.
And
the one that made it.
Him and Gronk so much because like they're the 2 opposite guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like for obviously the success Brady had in Tampa, whatever. Let's just play a little match game with Aaron Rodgers and tell me where he's going. Like there's got to be somebody on your mind.
Well,
who's going first?
I guess I'm just going to go with the easy. I'm going to go with the easy one, and that's just the rumors that came out about it being a team like Oakland. Totally makes sense. What does Jay Gruden or John Gruden do? He chases his veterans. Mike Mayock obviously likes veterans too. In an offense that John Gruden runs like that, why wouldn't you want a player like Aaron Rodgers? It totally makes sense. And in some way, somehow, maybe potentially the trade goes back where they're getting Derek Carr in return, who can still be there to mentor in some way Jordan Love. For me, that's the best marriage.
Chad, are you ready or you want me to go?
I'll go. I actually thought he was going to say Denver, so I'll take the other one. I think Denver is for the fact that look who they would Peyton Manning at the end of his career. They don't have a quarterback there. They have talent around that offense. Their defense isn't bad. They need a quarterback to get things done. And when it wasn't happening before, John Elway went out and got a veteran. It lasted 3 years. Same kind of deal can happen here, 3 to 4 years. Make that team a competitor again because they can't let the Chiefs keep running all over them and beating the shit out of them. That's the only competition in that division right now. San Diego's coming up. But until for a few years, they won't be there. But Denver's right there. Like Shane, you were super high in the last year. I made fun of you a lot about it, but you weren't wrong. They are a good football team. But the quarterback's the missing piece. And bringing in a guy like Aaron Rodgers changed that completely, changed that whole team, changed the belief in that offense, that culture. And like similar to what happened in Tampa last year, like they're good players, but they didn't know how to win. You bring in a guy that knows how to do those things, that changes everything. Because all of a sudden now you believe that your quarterback can win you any game. If you make a mistake, it's okay. My quarterback will bail me out. Your confidence changes. So
Right.
I think Denver, like I think the whole similar to what you said about Derek Carr going, you could still send Drew Lock there, and it gives them a guy that started in the NFL before, and it could hold you over. I don't think Jordan Love's ready yet, and I think they reached on that pick, and I think now they're realizing it because now they're trying to scramble to keep Aaron Rodgers there. When it was the other way around, it was Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. They didn't care. They said, "See you later, bye."
Right. Yeah. Well, exactly, and it seems like there's some kind of a rift between Rodgers and the GM, whether they're going to publicly say that or not. But that's the report that came out. But I was going to go with the Broncos until Chad said it, because I think maybe I was just a year ahead on the amazing quarterback play. But I came up with another one. So imagine he ends up with the Washington football team. That's a scary defense to be paired up with a guy like that. They have a little bit of a running game. They have a couple guys that can catch the ball. I don't know, man. That you go to Washington, and I think they just won their division, right? They won the division with nobody last year.
I just don't think Green Bay will let him go in the NFC.
Yeah.
That's
and they really looking
I
at
like
it.
That pick a lot.
Yeah. And then you look at the AFC, there isn't a lot of takers for quarterback.
Right away.
Yeah. And
that makes sense.
No. They said no to the 49ers for the third overall pick, which is crazy. I mean, obviously there would have been more compensation involved in it, but that's wild.
They don't want to play him. It's that simple.
Well, I mean, if you're ready to move on from the guy, you're gonna have to. Like, they let Brett Favre. Well, I guess the original Brett Favre move, was it to the Giants or to the Jets, or was it to the Vikings?
It was the Jets first.
Jets, because he tried to get to the Vikings, and they wouldn't let him. So they sent him to the Jets, played the Jets for a year, got his ass released, and then went back to the Vikings in spite.
Well, I believe that Brett Favre introduced
you know what I mean?
He introduced the world to dick pics. Created by Brett. But that was the news that kind of got everyone hyped up for the draft. But what about the draft itself? I mean, was there any huge surprise that stood out to you as far as this guy went where?
I mean, I'm a homer. I think it's crazy that Farley fell that far in the draft.
If he's healthy, 100% agree with you.
Mm-hmm. And another one, I know I'm just only doing a self-review here, I guess, of my own team's picks here, but Elijah Molden.
Shocking.
That was stop. I'm sure that, you can do some analysis of other teams here, Chad. But Elijah Molden coming out of Washington, that's a real fun slot corner to watch. He's pure slot. He could play that star position, I think they call it. That's the one that Barron played, I think, in Pittsburgh, right? Did that call it a star there? kind of like that hybrid safety linebacker.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never heard it called star before, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. I think the biggest reach for me in the first round, I don't know if this qualifies for your question or not, but that Houston or the New Orleans pick, the kid out of Houston, I can't remember his name because he was such a reach for me. The defensive end.
Oh,
That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we really wanted that SEC over to hit, and it didn't. But
yeah, that did you in
yeah,
hard, eh?
That was some bullshit. But I mean, the Leatherwood pick, I think, is going to end up being a pick that like everyone's going to be happy about 2 years from now. It's just I don't know. It's not really a sexy pick, and you reached for a guard.
It's not a Raiders pick.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Like the Raiders don't.
Did you?
They draft speed.
Yeah, that's it. Pure speed. That's Raiders history, right? I guess not with really Mayock there being there anymore, but was there anybody that really stood out as far as a GM?
Last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had to last year though, who was available to you. Was anybody that stood out to you as far as a GM, as far as moving up and down the board, that was like, wow, they did a really good job, or that you thought they got fleeced, that overpaid?
I think
like what the Cowboys did. I love the level of Petty to jump in front of the Giants. They let the Eagles in their own division get their guy just so the Giants couldn't. And it made me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally like what the Jaguars did. I think the Jaguars got a lot better. And I understand the James Robinson's family is probably not happy that Travis Etienne got drafted in the first round, but if you bring in arguably the best talent that we're going to see over the next 20 years and you want to make him comfortable, why not get the guy that was most used to catching?
You give him his best friend.
Yeah. And I don't know what their relationship is like off the field, but I'm going to assume it's good, right? Like
they're only 5 feet apart from each other at any given time to start a play. They
Trevor probably talked about this pick. Yeah. There's just no way. And I mean, Urban Meyer's going to run the ball, and a guy like Etienne is he's a pass catcher. And I think that on this show we've compared him to Kamara before. Understandably, Kamara was a third-round pick, but I'm sure if you gave New Orleans a chance to do it all over again, they probably would have made that guy a first-round pick.
Yeah,
probably could have saved him some money.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Carolina. Carolina moving around.
Pick, you son of a bitch.
Oh man! Well, hey, listen, that's good. That's good, man. I mean, that means that it's true.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking out of my ass, but I mean, yeah, they were moving, they were maneuvering. they were maneuvering. Now, the one questionable thing is a bad team, in my opinion, should not be drafting a long snapper. I don't care where it is in the draft. You don't need to be drafting a long snapper. But they did get a good soundbite out of it, so I guess that makes up for it on the fan side to be able to listen on that draft pick and hear a long snapper freak out when he realizes he just got picked in the draft. So that was pretty cool. And the Browns, I think the Browns did a good job moving up. They were they jumped ahead of us by one pick to grab your boy from Notre Dame, and I think that was a great pickup for them. Their defense is going to be flying next year if those players play up to their expectations. I think that's a great pickup for them. So that's another great team.
It's amazing that guy fell there, eh? Like, I know.
Yeah, I don't get that. What was there was something, was a heart issue or something like that?
I don't know.
Health, I think. Health related, but ridiculous.
I just steal. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the most versatile players on the field, and he just dropped to a team that already had a really good defense.
Well, I mean, they have a good
front seven.
They have a good defense in theory, yeah. Like
it's going to be a really interesting front.
Yeah.
Like the way they have like Clowney play over the center, sometimes standing up, to have this guy from Notre Dame as an end, have Garrett as an end. It's going to be a crazy looking front. It's going to be a lot like I know you're going to talk them down because they're in your division, but like they're going to be like a Steelers type front defense. Very variable for sure.
Slow down.
I mean, in the way that they're designed, not the way that they actually execute.
They're not even designed anywhere near the same. Like the Steelers wouldn't even know what to do with a guy like Myles Garrett because he wouldn't fit into their scheme. The defensive linemen in Pittsburgh clog up the middle so that the guys can get around the edge and make the sacks. And a guy like Stephon Tuitt is probably one of the most underrated players in football because he doesn't put production up. He just makes it so that he grabs 3 fucking linemen and then TJ Watt destroys the quarterback. And Myles Garrett couldn't play that role even if you paid him $100 million to do so. He's all about the show. But anyway, we don't need to get into Steelers Browns. We're going to have lots of time to do that in September. But another team that I think probably hit a home run was the Arizona Cardinals. Those guys, they got better, man. And I don't know how they are going to use all these linebackers, and like it's going to be interesting to see. But with Zion Collins, and they already had Isaiah Simmons, those are 2 fast men.
And they picked up Anthony Barr.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just because.
Who was the other edge rusher they got too?
TJ.
They got another one.
JJ Watt.
JJ Watt. Yeah, that's
that
ridiculous. That team is going to be stacked. NFC
football,
West. Yeah, what a crazy division. You're getting your money's worth no matter what game you watch within that division, huh?
Right.
I'm not picking Arizona to win once this year.
Well, yeah. Do not talk them up, and Shane just don't even mention Denver, I guess, right?
Yeah. I was on
Well,
that bandwagon
at least
last year, and they broke my heart. Every week.
we all could have picked our favorite team to go 15-1 and been disappointed at the end, but
only one guy did.
Yeah.
True fan.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of quarterbacks on the draft because obviously we talked a lot about the top guys. Now, were you surprised that they went for Trey Lance? I know we beat this fucking horse to death, but like, were you actually surprised when it came down to it that the pick Trey Lance went to the Niners?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was not rumored. It was like a 2-day rumor of that one. The Mac Jones rumor was the one that was really coming through.
It was a 1-day rumor.
Yeah. Seems like they spent more time with everybody else. It fits. It fits the system. You don't have to ask the kid to do too much, right? It's just going to be a run-heavy offense with some read option plays. If it's not there, take off. It works well.
Right.
Lean on the defense a little bit, right? He's not going to start right away. I don't know if that may be the plan. Maybe he'll, when I say start right away, maybe like day 1. Maybe he'll be there by week 4 or 5.
Nah, I think it's a redshirt year.
You think so? Yeah.
Unless they suck.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. If they suck, I said week 4 or 5, they would only pull that trigger if by week 4 or 5 that team isn't looking good because of the offense. He's definitely going to be put in. If it's only the offense that's holding that team back by then, I think that they may pull the trigger, depending on where the rest of the division's at too.
The only way I can see it happening is if they have a late bye week and they aren't in a position to win. Like if their bye week is like week 10 and they're 3-6, then yeah, he's gonna start the next game. But other than that, like I don't think they can get him ready. The guy, no. So I saw this today. He was born after Tom Brady was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting.
Pretty crazy, right?
And he has only played, by the time he actually suits up, he'll have only played 1 game in like a 16-month span.
Yep.
That's not good for a quarterback.
And he's only started how many games as a quarterback too?
Like 10 or something.
Like 13?
14.
Yeah, it hasn't been anything yet.
Their season's even less, right? So yeah. My whole thing is I don't know how. Yeah, Shane, we watched the draft together.
Yeah.
You saw my disbelief when it all happened. Justin Fields is a better Trey Lance. So what happened to Justin Fields the last month and a half of this whole process that none of us know? That's what I want to know. Don't question his character.
Is he Bo Callahan?
Don't question his football. What is it that we're not seeing? Because usually the media would already have this out by now.
Right.
And that's the part that's blowing my mind. Like nothing gets hidden at draft time. Everybody knows everybody's thing. Every tweet you ever made in your life gets pulled out. Ask Jake Fromm. It's one of those things where it doesn't add up, and I think the Bears got a steal because of it.
Right.
They could honestly have, realistically, like nothing again. Everybody knows how much I love Trevor Lawrence, but Jacksonville's Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
1A or 1B,
Oh,
the best quarterback in this class. From what his college resume says. And he just kept falling. And I like Mac Jones. I make fun of him for being a bag of milk, but I like Justin Fields more ahead of Mac Jones. I just don't see how Trey Lance jumped those two guys. Me and Shane, I don't think I stopped talking about this while we were watching the draft. I don't understand how he jumped
Right.
those two guys. Everybody knew it was Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. But it doesn't make sense what Trey Lance has done and what he hasn't done in the last year of his playing career to leapfrog those two guys who had two of the best college football seasons we've seen in a long time. I think only Joe Burrow had a better year than Mac Jones did. And he was only a one-year resume, really. And that's the whole thing, right? And he played on the greatest college team I think that's ever been assembled.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
I don't get the Justin Fields thing either at all.
Yeah. So the Justin Fields, like, do you guys remember the position that he got traded from? Like, how high up did the Bears come to get him? Do you remember?
Well, they got him at 11. Yeah.
I don't even know.
Was
16,
it 11?
17? But they got him at 11, yeah.
So, yeah.
They were between.
Yeah, so they traded with the Giants then, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because they were a playoff team last year. So, like, they came up like a decent way for him. But I just don't understand how the Giants can trade out of that position and give Justin Fields to the Bears. Now, I'm just going to assume this is something we'll never know. There was multiple teams in on that trade. There had to have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no way that some of these, like the Steelers, Washington, Oakland, or not Oakland, Las Vegas, like, how are these teams not even considering it? And I had a feeling that Denver was going to pass on them, which is, I mean, that's going to bite them in the ass eventually. But I was surprised to see that slide. The Mac Jones thing. Did anybody not think that once he wasn't picked by the 49ers that he was going to be a Patriot? Because that was the immediate, right?
Yeah, like that was the only place that made sense. Like,
right.
He went from the best coach of all time to going to play for the best NFL coach of all time, who come from the same tree. Like, he's set up to succeed.
Right.
The offense they run is the offense that's run in Alabama.
So
he
the only knock that I have.
Ceiling.
Yeah. The only knock that I have on but the only knock I have on is that he was drafted by Bill Belichick. And if you look at Belichick's draft resume, it's piss poor. Like, it was all the personnel guys that have moved on to different teams. They were finding the studs. Belichick has not had a lot of success drafting players, and I don't think that it's an accident. Now, I'm not saying that Mac Jones is going to suck, but it puts a little bit of doubt in the back of my mind just because he was drafted by Belichick.
Well, it's funny because the only videotape too from his pro day is when he threw the deep ball and missed it, and it comes back to Belichick with Josh McDaniels with Saban, and he's just shaking his head, and then he ends up drafting him still anyway.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, just any New England Patriots fans that are hating my guts right now by saying that, like, just go look. And Sony Michel was the first round pick of the Patriots.
Keneal Harry.
They
traded up for, I think.
Yeah, Keneal Harry. Like, these guys were supposed to be can't miss prospects, and they fucking suck. And it's because, whatever. They're not picking the right guys. So maybe that trend, maybe.
Bill, that's his best work in the later rounds, because I think that's where, like, he can instill his Bill Belichick-isms and his, like, the fear and all that stuff. When you hit first round picks, don't give a flying fuck. They're getting paid regardless.
Yeah.
They already know they're getting another contract somewhere else.
But yeah, I mean, even still, like, even the late round picks recently, since like Pioli and Dimitrov and some of these guys have left, the New England pipeline has not been that good. and they were always kept alive by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback. And that's never been more evident than last year. And call it what you want to call it. They had a bunch of opt-outs. Who gives a shit? Moving on to the next quarterback is, yeah, Kyle Trask goes to the Bucks because if there's anything the Bucks needed, it was a fucking quarterback. So, Chad, talk to us about Kyle Trask because I wanted him. I mean, it was a little too rich for my blood, but I wanted him too.
Oh,
Like, I don't understand the pick. I told him, like, we have Blaine Gabbert. I know how Kaylin feels about him. I found out before the show starts. You think that he fucked your wife or something the way you talked about him.
Jesus.
He may as well have.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm gonna go tell Sydney
Yeah.
that one interception was the equivalent of her cheating on you.
Yeah.
So I
Yo,
don't.
Kaylin, how's your wife and his kids?
Ryan Griffin, I'm not a huge fan of. So, but to take a third round quarterback in the second round, I don't think you had to, and I think you could have got him in 3. I think you could have got him in 4. There's this kid sounds like a super homer pick. The Saints got Ian Book in the 4th round. I would have been okay taking a guy like Ian Book in the 4th round to hold a clipboard for 2 years.
I love that pick, by the way.
And I just don't see how Kyle Trask can come in and help us. We're pretty stacked everywhere. I get that. So, man, if their board said that was the best available guy, hey, that's cool. That being said, we drafted 3 linebackers, which I didn't think we needed. So I'm really, really confused about their draft board right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I know. I'm not a huge fan of the pick. I don't mind him because, his upside, yeah, it could be really good. But I don't like taking the second round pick who's going to set, those guys should be competing to start. And I think that's what bothers me about it.
Well, the Bucks draft board and their draft class in general kind of looks like that guy from the fantasy football league that shows up and didn't do his research. He's like, oh, wait, yeah, no, how many points you get for a punter? And there's not a lot of thought into it. Like, Chad, you said they took 3 different linebackers, and the odds are maybe the guy from the first round is going to make the roster, but the rest of those dudes are going to play in the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And Kyle Trask, yeah, he could be a quarterback of the future, but Tom doesn't mentor quarterbacks. Never has, never will. And
is it fair to compare Trask to somebody like Mac Jones? Like, in a sense, here when I say this, he's Mac Jones accurate, but with somebody's an Alex Smith type arm, where he's never gonna have the type of power to put it beyond 10 yards with any type of real velocity, but he can nickel and dime you up the field the whole way. Is that a fair comparison?
The only person that wouldn't like it is Kyle Trask's future wife, who would be like, I would not marry that fucking bag of milk. And
oh my god,
yeah, and
bag of milk.
The other card, so there was Trask, and I liked Kellen Mond. I think he went to the Vikings. I think the Vikings got a pretty good quarterback out of it. And the other one I was going to mention was Ian Book, and Chad already brought him up. I think that's a great pick for them. Probably is just more signals to Taysom Hill's forehead that he's going to not be the quarterback of the future for the Saints. Now, the other hot button issue was, do you take a running back in the first round or nah? And Chad, you saw me. I was nervous. I was worried. But at the end of the day, the Steelers got Najee Harris, and that's all that really was important. But if you read some of these Pro Football Focus ratings and draft grades and shit, which I think are all absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing, these guys haven't even played. So someone hurt your feelings because it went away from your mock draft, basically. So you're saying that you know more than a scout. But anyway, does it bother you that multiple running backs were taken in the first round?
It makes sense.
I think this fits the
Pittsburgh needed a
position.
running back.
And
Yeah.
and those two guys that went in the first round, if we take this whole thing back 10, 15 years, those guys are top 10 picks. Let's be
Right.
serious. We take this back in the early 2000s and the 90s. Two guys that can do what those two guys can do, they're top 10 picks. And I understand the game's changed and a lot of guys are going by running backs by committee and so on and so forth. I don't care. Those guys are top talent, and where they got them, they're better than some of these guys that got drafted after them. Significantly better. And it'll impact the teams they went to
Absolutely.
right away. And I think take grades out of it, take your opinion out of it. Pittsburgh needed running back help. They went and got the best running back in the draft. Jacksonville want to build around a young quarterback. What do? You bring in his comfort and his safety blanket.
Right.
Like that is Trevor Lawrence's blankie before he goes to bed. It was a smart play. Could they have? And like they're not going to get him in the second round because you don't think guys are going to start leapfrogging the second they see Harris off the board. It's like shit. Now there's only one of them left.
Yeah.
And I think it was the right thing to do for both teams. And so anybody who says that, I just shake my head at them.
Yeah,
I will say that it was the wrong
draft analysts that. Yeah, it's the draft analysts that feel like it's. Kaylin, your delay sucks. Just keep.
I'm sorry.
the draft analysts feel like they know more than anybody, and they.
All I'm thinking is zip it. That's all I kept thinking of when that was happening.
Yeah. Anyway, they want to build a team the way that they want to build a team, and they want to get their mock draft right because for some reason that's important to somebody. Like at the end of the day, who really gives a fuck? Like the mock draft is really just to have fun and to create content until the next thing happens. Like now that the draft has happened, let's wait a year and see if these guys were viable first round picks. And I mean, Harris is probably going to be in a little bit of a better situation because the Steelers essentially redid their running game in the first 4 rounds of the draft. And they got a couple of nasty guards and they got a blocking tight end. And those are things that they needed. So, I mean, instantly I'm going to say Najee Harris is a 1,000-yard rusher. Not even won't even bat an eye at it. Easily.
You had 1,000 rushers with James Conner, who was nowhere near the talent level of what Najee Harris is.
Right.
So I agree with that.
Exactly. Yeah. And
as far I was going to say that I think that the move of Jacksonville, if you take the title of running back, what they took, I think was the wrong choice. But if you look at the type of player and the school that matches the quarterback that you just took, it makes sense. They didn't need a running back. They really didn't. James Robinson set a record as an undrafted rookie for rushing yards. He was the talk of the town. He's not an abnormality. Like he actually is a good player. So they didn't need a running back. But as Chad mentioned, you got your safety blanket, a guy we've talked about earlier who's 4 or 5 feet behind you at almost any given play. I'm sure that they were probably locker room guys or even probably they're probably roommates. So to have that guy come in and kind of grow with you, it makes sense when you talk about it on that side of it to groom your quarterback. But it doesn't make sense to take the running back where they took it. Travis Etienne deserved to be a first-round running back. Absolutely. That's my opinion with that, though.
Well, wouldn't you see the Jaguars having Etienne on one side and Robinson on the other and just double flank him? Like, that seems like it'd be a comfortable offense for Lawrence to run.
You got to understand, both those guys can come out of the backfield.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Like, you can start them both in the backfield, and that means you can't really put an extra DB on the field. You can move one to the outside. You can flank one to the inside. You can put one out wide. And that means you have a mismatch everywhere on the field. If you're comfortable with your front 5, and hopefully they are, because they have a very important package back there, you can play with those 2 guys and put them anywhere you want. Etienne can play on the line. He did it in college. He lined up at receiver. And we're seeing more and more running backs do that. Like Le'Veon Bell was one of the first guys that did that. Him and like Marshall Faulk did it back in the day a little bit. But then Le'Veon Bell made that a thing. And now running backs are coming up like that. Kamara does it in New Orleans. And I think that's kind of like how they can create some mismatches and make Trevor's job easier if you have 2 guys that you can count on to do those things. And they can both catch a football.
Did you just brought him up? So did you guys see the Najee Harris comments about Le'Veon Bell?
No.
So he said, "I can do everything that Le'Veon Bell did, only better."
Nice.
Preach.
So as you mentioned about putting them both in the backfield, I remember 2 years ago I was watching a video. It was on YouTube, somebody breaking down film, and this guy who was breaking it down said something that like it's always kind of stuck with me. And he said that it's a good intention to have one player or a running back or a tight end, an H back of some kind back there to help block for your younger or rookie quarterback. To assist him, to give him more time to read. The problem is if you make them receiving threats. So if you break them out of the backfield, and now you've got two in the backfield, that the condition for what's normal for the rookie quarterback is to check down, to go for the easy pass. Well, now these wide receivers or these running backs who are now receivers are already 4 to 6 yards back from the line of scrimmage, and you're going to be potentially taking the opportunity at a loss, more chances at a loss than at a gain, because that quarterback's more likely to check down. So that's why they try to force maybe having one back there for block and having a tight end as being your security blanket, because even if he gets you 4 yards, some yards is better than no yards, rather than passing at 6 yards back and then starting your play from there. So that's where, like, it does make sense. I can understand where you become a developed quarterback. You talked about New Orleans with Alvin Kamara and coming out of the backfield, had a very developed quarterback who could make multiple reads. And if it wasn't there, now I check down. But I feel like it may be a problem early on for somebody like Trevor Lawrence if he's getting fronted and he has to make a decision, and now you're starting your offense 5 or 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So that's where I think that may kind of hinder him. So, and they have speedsters at the wide receiver position. I think they could definitely have a 3 or 4 wide receiver front and just go to one running back in the formation. But that's something that's always kind of stuck with me. Watch that film and it was like, oh, that makes sense, a lot of sense. I could definitely see that.
Chad, does that make sense to you?
I get what you're saying. I think they're going to motion them out to a line. They're not going to start 5 yards back, is what I'm trying to say. They'll start the backfield, motion them to a set position on the line as a receiver. That's what I was going with this. And now you have a linebacker that has to cover them, or if you bump a corner out to cut out wide, that means now you're inside receivers on a linebacker. So it's just the way you play your mismatches. I understand exactly what you're saying. But yeah, no, I think they're going to. Urban Meyer's not dumb. He's been doing this his whole life. And college offenses now have come into the NFL, and
Right.
he ran a very good one wherever he went. So,
Well,
I'm sure I'm pretty sure they know more than all of us combined. So,
well, I mean, they definitely act like they do. So I hope they do. Let's move on to the other skill position, and this was the position that was most drafted in the entire draft, and that's wide receiver. So, first of all, we need to know, like, Kyle Pitts, receiver or tight end?
anything he wants to be.
Okay.
Well, if he's going to the Falcons with Arthur Smith being the coach, I think Arthur's going to have a good time with him being tight end. I think that's how he's going to play him out there.
Well, I mean, I could see him playing off the line and Hurst being his hand in the dirt just to kind of make a better matchup for him. But I mean, whatever they want to do, that guy's a big man. He looked like he was a little bit skinny, but it could have just been a nicely tailored suit. Who knows? We're not there. We just see the shit on TV.
Yeah.
Now, the Cincinnati Bengals made a curious pick, one that I think we could all understand. But no matter how many good receivers you have, if your quarterback isn't alive, why does it matter? So, do you guys have a problem with the Bengals taking Jamar Chase at 5?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time, yes, I think the way that the cookies have crumbled here, if they're able to go out and get that tackle that just got cut from Chicago, they bail themselves out. A great deal. But like as it stands right now, I don't get it. You're right.
Oh.
You have a fast receiver who can run great routes, but if you only have 2.5 seconds to get the ball out every single play, you're in trouble.
Who's this tackle from Chicago?
I can't remember what his name is right now, but they just cut him today because they couldn't come to an agreement on a new contract. But they're going to save about $7 million, and he's looking for an extension or something like that. So, but he's actually not a bad. I think it's Levi or something. Anyway, but he's actually going to find a spot. He's actually a decent rated tackle. He's been highly or decently graded over there. So, but much better than what Cincinnati has been playing with, I would say, down there. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, they haven't landed either of the guys from Kansas City, so that worries me. I know they're both coming off injury, but like if you're not even bringing those guys in, I'm a little concerned. Joe Burrow could be a phenomenal quarterback, but at the end of the day, he died last year. He hit 73 times in 8 games.
That video you
That's a
sent me
fucking death sentence.
of the Joker getting thrown on the street was fucking hilarious.
I tagged the Cincinnati Bengals in that video.
Kaylin, did you see it?
No.
So
You know
it's the scene.
Joker with Joaquin Phoenix when he gets thrown out of the club
Yeah, yeah.
and down the stairs. It's so intense. Like this is Joe Burrow next year.
Each game. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I literally just tagged the Bengals in it because I'm a dick.
It's awesome, though.
Well, I saw like one cartoon where it's like Joe Burrow and it's his receiver down the field and it's like, I'm open, Joe, and the ball is coming perfect because they've got a good tackle on the one end, and then it's a picture below and it's Joe getting sacked by 3 or 4 people at one time, and then the receiver saying, I'm open, and it's like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
Why am I running?
Man, the internet
honestly.
won the NFL draft. That's what it came down to. That is who the real winner of the draft was this year. Was the internet.
Who's this? Sorry.
Between the internet.
The internet.
Oh yeah.
Between Mac Jones, Zach Wilson looking really uncomfortable between all the guys. Everybody making fun of Mac Jones, his walk, his body, everything. The Joe Burrow ACL jokes that were flying around. Like the one with the guy Ralph from The Simpsons. I'm in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was dying laughing.
What about homeboy who ghosted his family? They were all on their cell phones. The wide receiver. Who was that?
That was Waddle.
It was Waddle, right? Waddle, yeah, ghosted his family. They were all on the receiver.
He came out and said
and then
that they got the phone call first. So the camera.
Oh, okay.
Because they can't show it to TV. So by the time it got announced on TV, they already knew. So
okay.
That's why on TV it didn't look like he hugged his family, because he had already done that, he said.
Did you see the video with the Eagles when they drafted the defensive tackle? You got Howie Roseman and you got Jed Lowry, whatever his name is, or the GM there, and they're all like, yeah, and everybody, they go to fist bump, they fist bump them, and the people they're fist bumping are smiling, but the second they look away, they're like, the fuck, and the last guy the guy goes to fist bump him, he's kind of like, yeah, no, like, why are we doing this pick? Everybody in the room is against the pick except for the owner and the GM. It's crazy, man. You guys got to see it. It's wild. It's definitely the best video, but I feel bad for the player, of course, too. But yeah, it's the most telling video of a team in demise, I think, is when you're talking about Philadelphia, what they've gone through in the last year. They're definitely on a down slope, man.
Who else from the wide receiver class stood out to you? The Titans got one, didn't they? They got the kid from Purdue?
They got the kid from Louisville,
No.
Desmond. What's his last name?
I don't know.
I think you say it, Chad. I
Sure
can't remember his name. But they got two receivers. The receiver they got, the second one was in the 4th or 5th round, but the first receiver they got was in the 4th round. Say 6'2". He's more of a slot receiver, so more of a possession guy. Like compare him to like a Tajay Sharp, if I'm talking about former Titans or whatever. But then like I said, we went to that Elijah Molden pick, that nickel corner. I think that was one of my favorite pickups for us, and I know it's late but that's probably my favorite one.
Does he play receiver?
Nope, does
Then
not.
stop.
We didn't do a whole lot of do not do a whole lot of wide receivers, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, still in the search.
You guys did, didn't you?
No, we didn't take any.
You didn't get anything, no?
No, they're fucking loaded at receiver. They don't need that shit. The best receiver that I saw that, I mean, we're gonna know who he is, that we didn't really talk about before, was Tutu Atwell. I don't know. Have you guys seen this guy?
No, what's going on?
He's like 5'7", and he runs like he runs like lightning, and he went to the Rams. And
Okay.
This guy, he's gonna be Tyreek Hill, just without all the drama going into the draft, you know.
Oh, so
Has he got like does he actually have like sprinter background or anything?
He probably doesn't meet the height requirement, but the guy looks like the guy looks like he can play. He played at Louisville. I didn't really know a lot about him.
See this kid. He's 152 pounds.
Yeah,
isn't that insane? How the hell is this guy going to play in the NFL? That's wild.
He's gonna die.
Yeah.
That's how.
Someone has to catch him first. And
His legs are like my wrist, man. Like they're just
He
the
just has-
smallest
yeah.
little things.
I don't know.
they're not allowed to hit the receivers anymore anyway. What difference does it make?
I guess. Yeah, it's true.
He cuts across the middle one time, his life's over.
Well, if somebody hits them, they're going to get a 15-yard penalty.
Hmm.
Just put it on my tab.
Yeah.
Worth it. Yeah, that's what. Chalk it up. Worth it.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, anything else from the draft that stood out for you guys?
J.C.
like
Horn
the
going
Jets
as high as he
draft.
did. Oh, the Jets with the
I
the
like
guard.
the Jets.
I think that was a great pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, the quarterback, guard, receiver was what they did, and that
hmm
kind of shows you where they decided, like, hey, we kind of like what we said, like from the beginning, going the whole Zach Wilson thing. Like, no matter what quarterback goes there, they have to do what the Jets have never done before, and that's what it looks like. What they did,
Right.
Mhm.
they got him. They got some protection. They got Beachum last year at tackles. They have a tackle now. You got him a guard to protect them. Elijah Moore, the upside in him is huge. So you got a receiver that looks like you should be good there. So I was actually shocked with how good the Jets did in their first 3 picks,
And
Mhm.
and it's very
That's-
Jets like.
yeah, it's impressive too because they have a defensive coach. So you would think like a defensive coach implementing a new scheme, he'd want to bring in somebody for himself, but I don't know. I mean, it
And Joe
seems like maybe they
Douglas
got the
sucks
shit
as a
together this year.
GM. So it's crazy that they were able to make actually good picks.
Well, I mean, good picks right now. Who knows what they look like when they actually start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We,
But yeah, as I mentioned, J.C. Horn going first corner. I think that was pretty crazy. I really thought that Surtain was going to be the first corner. J.C. Horn going number one, like is the number one. And then did you see Joe Horn? His dad got all upset because there wasn't any coverage on it because all the analysts wanted to talk about the Aaron Rodgers drama. Sorry,
Yeah.
your kid just made the league, and a guy who's been in the league for 16 years is creating waves here a little bit. Jesus, right?
the
They
thing
should
with
know
the
better.
J.C. Horn pick, I actually didn't realize. Like, I knew he was good, and I watched him building up to the draft before I wrote that article on him. Dude, that kid's a specimen. Like, that is the only way to break it down. Like, I watched
Yeah.
him train. The things that he does when he's running and the way he moves, you can't teach those things.
Right.
And they said the one knock is he dropped out of South Carolina before just for the end of the season when the coach got fired. And I was like, I almost questioned his loyalty at that point. I'm like, he went with his dude. Like the guy that brought him in, they want to treat him like that. He's like, I'm out. But yeah, like watching that guy train in the offseason, that guy is something special. And I think he's the right. He can play zone and man. And I think that's what separated him from Surtain a little bit. Because Surtain was more of the zone kind of player.
And there's a chance that he
Who's
could play
gonna be
safety too.
Now I
He
gotta go
certainly
against
can make
him
the
first.
switch.
Who's going to be the first Buccaneers player to posterize him?
All of us.
Well,
AB, my boy.
yeah.
I thought it was really funny that any of the SEC wide receivers that were drafted in the first 2 rounds, their highlight film as they were talking about them after they got picked, there was always a clip of them running a route and making a catch against J.C. Horn. Maybe, I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but every single SEC wide receiver, they for most of them, they brought up, oh, and here he is playing against J.C. Horn. And they're trying to show like that's a top tier cornerback playing against this receiver, but it was always a catch or whatever. Just, it looked bad that this guy gets drafted number 1 corner and then gets picked on the rest of the
I
draw.
want to know, though,
the first
when
rounds.
that film was from. Because he only had 4 completed passes on him in his last year. So when did they get that film? That's the real question.
Well, based on
When
what
I was
2020
looking-
was, it had to be most of it was
researching them, they had
2019.
4 catches on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most
so,
people's
like,
film
it
that I
shows,
was
like-
seeing was all from 2019, which is weird.
Yeah.
So weird to see that.
Well, some of these guys opted out, man. What are you going to do?
No, I know. But some of these guys have also grown like in size and everything. Like, there's completely different players, right? Like what did that linebacker, I think I was reading about him from Notre Dame. I think that he put on something like 25 pounds between seasons and completely switched up the way he was playing or something, right? He went from more of like an end linebacker to more of like a defensive end player, right?
Yeah, they put him on the line, right? So he had to gain some size. Like he was one of those guys that like he was too slow to be a DB, good linebacker, but like he was still like they had to put something in him, put some nasty in him almost. You get him in the weight room, you put
Yeah.
some size on him properly, and then watch him crash downhill.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Well, it seems like it
like I
worked
said,
for him.
the knock.
I think like his was close to 20 pounds, right? So you're talking about a big weight difference between year to year. If you're making a position change or potentially thinking about your position change in the NFL, how is that actually going to affect your game for some of these guys we haven't even seen play in a year? Pretty wild.
And that's what the knock on him though is like he's very inexperienced at that position, and he only knows how to crash downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really like cool to see if he can make that transition, or is it like, hey, you know what, we're gonna just put you in that kind of like that TJ Watt kind of so like you have one job. We're gonna clog a hole and you have to go chase.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And like with the draft, it's done now, and some of these guys they're free agents. Now, if I was a free agent in their shoes, I'd probably do the same thing. But now that the draft is complete, there's a few guys of note, and what do you think are good landing spots for them? So we'll start with Melvin Ingram, formerly of the Chargers. I would say not a premier pass rusher, but definitely more serviceable than over half the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd still take him.
I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like where Tampa's not getting him. Fuck off.
Yeah.
So where's a logical spot for a guy like that to land?
Detroit. They need some vet guys on defense. They need some pass rush over there. I don't know if he's willing to put up with Dan Campbell's shit this far into his career, but that seems like a pretty logical spot for him to go and play in. He gets to play inside of a dome, so he doesn't worry about bad weather. He does have to play against Green Bay and Chicago, so they're 2 games a year or 1 game a year. It's going to be some rough weather maybe. But I think that might be a really good spot for him. Or even Seattle could be another great spot. They've been hunting pass rushers for years now. So
the problem is they don't pay anybody properly. I mean, I could see a guy like Ingram or even like Justin Houston ending up in Tennessee. If there's a team that needs pass rushing.
Yeah. I could the Ingram,
Carolina
I don't know about
the other spot.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Partner him up with Brian Burns. Oof. Crazy rush there.
That defense can fly. They drafted a lot of defensive players who can ball and start right away, but they need help on that to get that edge rush. And bringing a guy like that, like he can play the run too, which is big, and he can allow those guys to fly around with all their speed that they just drafted. So I think Carolina's going to be a scary team. Like I know everybody's knocking on Sam Darnold. I'm not saying they're going to go out there and win 11 games, but I think they could be a 9-win football team, and they're only going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say they're the second best team in that division right now.
Easily.
Yeah, and so we got these 2 linemen that were on the Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl last year, Mitchell Schwartz, Eric Fisher. I mean, pretty much any team that needs offensive line should be calling these guys, no?
Mm-hmm. Mitchell Schwartz is definitely the better of the 2. But yeah, the Bengals could definitely use him.
Right. And what about Richard Sherman?
I don't think
he's telling people before the draft that he has suitors, but he is taking his time and wants to wait till after the draft to make his decision. I just don't know who picks up a slow
It's gonna
corner.
take the right system.
I do.
With a guy who they don't have to pay.
Oh Lord, where does he go, Shane?
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas. Who did they just got the linebacker? They got a corner too, right? In the draft?
I don't know, maybe in the second round or something, but they got Parsons in the first round.
Parsons in the first. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a guy like Sherman being a personality for Dallas, and
God, that's the last thing Dallas needs.
If you needed to add a little bit of attitude to a defense, Sherman is probably the guy to grab. That's my opinion.
Better than Aldon Smith.
Yeah. Now, I did want to ask you guys a couple of hockey questions before we wrap it off here. Have you guys been paying attention? I kind of stopped paying attention to hockey for a couple weeks there, unless I was betting on it on Cool Bet, of course.
No,
But
I've been paying attention, but mainly only to like the top teams. The
so
bottom teams have lost my attention.
so there's 10 out of the 16 playoff spots are already taken. So 10 are clinched. So I wrote down the teams from each division that have a realistic shot. Now, in most cases, it's only 2 teams that are still left alive. Now, in our North Division, you have Edmonton, who hasn't been playing so great. Winnipeg, that was on a losing streak. Montreal, who you never know what the fuck you're getting with those guys. And Calgary, who's been a roller coaster all year. So only 3 of those teams can make it. So who's not making it?
Calgary.
Like I don't want to say Edmonton because like they just been so snake bitten forever. And like I feel if any city needs like a false hope of like things are getting better, it's Edmonton. But yeah, Calgary's just has not been good. And Montreal, who knows what team's ever going to show up. Like I just don't think any of those teams are that good personally. But
they're really not.
How annoying is it for a team, for like a coach, for like a team like Calgary though? They put up or they play well against a team like Toronto, who's by far and large the best team in the division, but they can still compete with them game in and game out, historically anyway, right now. And then they just fucking falter against a team like Ottawa or Vancouver when Vancouver was going through their slump, which is really what put Calgary into the position that they're in right now. Right. So that's going to be so defeating as a coach. Like, just play like you play against Toronto. Come on. It's Ottawa.
I think that's a coaching thing, though. I think
that comes
preparation. Down to the coach then.
Yeah. And like,
how can you get them here one week and then they're here the next? Like, that's on you. That's your job.
Right. Yeah.
And who is it there again?
Skill level didn't change.
Yeah, I think Calgary is the odd team out when it all comes down to it.
Shane, I have a question for you, though.
Yep.
I haven't been really diving into this whole baseball thing this year. I've been kind of like dialed into the draft, as you already know. Baseball is too early for me to care. But what this guy's doing in LA, that pitcher, batter guy, I don't know his name. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, yeah.
That's unheard of, right?
Yeah, I mean, this guy is the best thing in baseball that no one's ever heard about. And anybody that doesn't like, the guy's going to hit more than 20 home runs, and he has a chance to have more than 15 wins. He pitches every 5th day, and he bats 3rd.
Yeah, this is DH. Like he was like the Islanders. Why I even heard of this? Like I remember like rumblings hearing about it. Like as I put on like MLB Network in the morning as I'm getting ready for work and stuff. And they kept talking about this one pitcher and batter, and I actually wasn't really paying attention to who it was. And they put up his stats tonight, and I was just kind of putting something on before he came on. And he was supposed to start tonight, but he got hit by a pitch or something. So he's still DHing now tonight. Which so to me, like, I've never seen like them put like I've never seen like a pitcher be like, can't pitch like, we'll definitely put a bat in your hand.
That's crazy. So fill me in then, Shane.
The teams we talk about tonight, I wanted to ask.
Yeah. The teams that are over in Japan, like or in the Asian baseball leagues, do the pitchers play and hit and everything just like that there?
Not always.
Are they
not always. Like this guy is just like a superhuman athlete, and he has everything. I mean, he can hit for power. Like they talk about 5-tool guys in baseball. This guy's like a 9-tool guy. He can not only hit for power, play defense, but he can strike people out, and he's got nasty curve stuff. And the reason that no one's heard of him
stolen bases,
is
they said too.
What?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years, 3 years ago, he was a big like international free agent, and the Angels grabbed him. Like the Jays were in the running for him too. He was he was down between the Angels and the Blue Jays, and he went to the Angels, and then he went there and he got hurt, and he had Tommy John surgery. So then in Tommy John surgery, he was still able to play baseball the following year, but he didn't pitch. So he had an okay season at the plate, but now he's able to start pitching again. Last year was kind of a write-off year. Now he's able to do both again. And like this, do you guys remember when Barry Bonds was chasing that record?
Okay,
And
no, like
on-
the home run record.
Yeah, and no matter what you were
Okay.
watching, like it would just pop up in the corner of the screen and be like, "This is what Barry Bonds is doing."
The Barry watch.
Like,
yeah.
yeah, they need to get that for this dude because if he played anywhere except for the LA Angels, people would know about him. And
So if he plays
need-
like this year, like the way he is, and what's his contract like?
he's on an international free agents deal, so he probably got paid decent.
So is he still under contract for, let's say, 4 or 5 more years, kind of thing?
Just like they could have signed him for 10 years if they were like. I don't know. I don't think they did. I think they got.
Oh,
4.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no restriction on any of that shit.
But when I think about somebody like Tatis, who obviously his numbers are ridiculous, and I saw a comparison today talking about like all these Hall of Famers and where they're at in their position or his position in his career versus them at the same time. Is that player not almost as valuable, the Sohani, as somebody like Tatis? Like, should he not be in line for somebody like this 10-year, $200 million or something like that?
Well, if he can stay healthy, for sure. But like, he hasn't pitched an entire major league season yet. So what he can do this year is going to be one of those things that puts him on the map. And he really should be a slam dunk MVP candidate, except for the sick part is he's not even the best player on his team. Like Mike Trout is on his team. So like when he plays outfield, he's not even the best outfielder on his team.
Yeah, it's true.
But he might be one of the best.
So okay, so
on his team.
As the baseball guy, one last question for you here. I know we're running along here. The DH, has that ever, I know it's been talked about recently, but I don't know for sure. Is there any ever talk about the NL just going full DH and stopping the pitcher from hitting? Or is that just never going to happen? Yeah. What is that just tradition, or is there a reason for that?
Yeah, like baseball is the last archaic sport to like come out of anything. I mean, they won't make a universal DH, but and I know you guys said you haven't watched a lot of baseball this year, but have you seen the rule in extra innings this year?
With the extra man on base in the second, yeah,
that's
crazy.
Like, yeah, it's fucking lady softball. This is like embarrassing. So no matter what, if you don't score a run and you have a guy on second with nobody out, you're done. Yeah, like you shouldn't even be playing. You deserve to lose. But what a joke! It's basically like saying we're gonna cut overtime out of hockey and just do breakaways on an open net.
Mm-hmm. It was an interesting move for sure. I get what they're trying to do, trying to drive some offense or drive watchings of the game, but who cares if the game went 15 innings? That's one out of every like 25 or 30 games that happens in, right?
It's to appease the players' union. The players' union wants the rosters expanded so they can carry more pitchers. But you don't need to carry more pitchers if games aren't going to go long anymore. 15,
16, 17 innings, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we got off track there. We rambled probably. If you ask Liam.
Hey, it's baseball, man.
Back to hockey really quick. In the West Division, St. Louis Blues or Arizona Coyotes?
Blues.
Only one of them can get in.
I'll go Arizona just to go against Kaylin. That's the only reason I don't watch any hockey. So.
Okay. In the East, things are pretty much settled, but there is still an outside chance that the Rangers can get in over the Bruins. So, do you think that the Rangers have enough in them to get over the Bruins?
No.
I want Bruins because Taylor Hall's there.
Oh, fuck you.
Great pick. So, last thing, and this one's probably the best division in hockey, with the exception of maybe the East would compete with it. Nashville or Dallas from the Central?
Oh man, with Sagan coming back, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Sagan's back tonight.
Did he start tonight? Did he play tonight? I don't even watch to see.
He's back tonight.
I got to go Dallas then. If they're getting Sagan back at the right time here and he's healthy with like nice and non-used legs, I'm going with them.
Yeah, for me, like I agree on Dallas. Like a team like Nashville, I like having them in the playoffs because I think it's a cool team and like their uniforms are dope. And I think if there was an NHL arena that was going to be packed, it's going to be in Nashville. But in order to win hockey games, I think you have to score goals. And as we found out on Saturday night, Nashville does not like to score goals. So Yeah, I mean that was kind of bullshit. We had the over,
That's it.
and it was a 1-0 overtime game. So,
Terrible.
yeah. So, last 3 points, Liam, and I promise I'll be
Like a
quick.
barn burner.
On Saturday night, did you guys watch the Jays game?
Oh,
Or
yes, Springer.
so you saw that second home run that hasn't landed yet.
I was just gonna say, I think it's still coming into my backyard right now.
Chad, did you see it?
No, I went to bed at like 9 o'clock on Saturday. I went on a 3-day bender before that.
Yo, you got.
We had our draft special, then we had the draft, and then I had a boys' night on Friday night. Saturday was like 9 o'clock. I was in bed, like just out cold.
You gotta go see this home run.
I'm honest.
It still hasn't landed, but
Mhm.
why that home run was
Moonshot.
crazy? Why that home run was crazy is there's only 3 players in the last 6 years that have more than one home run over 470 feet, and the obvious is going to be George Springer, right? Because we're talking about it. Now, who's the other one going to be?
Yeah. Poppy?
No, it's only in the last 6 years.
I heard this.
It's only in the last 6 years.
Not
Yeah.
hearing any Chad there.
I can't hear
Chad's
Chad
talking.
anymore. I can't hear Chad anymore, but it's oh, Chad's gone. Aaron Judge
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
And Mike Trout. And 2 other quick things.
How did we not guess those guys?
Yeah. No, but honestly, like when you think of 470-foot home runs, like that's a deep ass home run. But 2 other quick
Right?
2 other quick things. The Kentucky Derby had 50,000 people at it.
To
Absorb
watch
that.
horses run around a frigging lap one time, right?
Oh yeah, no, but there's horse races all day. Like during the
Yeah.
Kentucky Derby, there's races all day. But normally there would be 120,000. But
Oh.
in this year, 2021, there was more than 50,000 people crammed into one place, and
The
and the 3 of
Real
us
question
can't
is, when are
even
we
go to
going?
Joe Cool's for a beer. Yeah, the 3 of us can't even go to Joe Cool's for a beer. So
We're getting there, man.
okay. And the last point, it kind of ties together what we were talking about earlier. If you guys had to ballpark how many people watched the draft on Thursday night, just in the U.S., because I mean internationally it'd probably be wild, but just in the U.S., how many?
100
I
million.
think I saw this number. 32 million.
Okay, so Kaylin is way closer. It was 30 million, but
Ah.
that is more than any other professional sports playoffs. Just so you guys know, like
Combined,
the
I think there
finals.
was like 3 sports combined there
Yeah.
that they beat out.
Yeah. In one day just to watch the draft. But anyway, that's all I got, boys. Appreciate you guys hanging out.
Yeah,
Cheers.
man. Good chat.
We'll
Cheers.
catch up this weekend.
Yeah, man, for sure.